strange. Nobody's on. Good gracious. Hi, guys. Sharon Lewin from School Corridor here. And of course, Crystal Lewin is in the house. And then we have our co-host, Noel Isaacs, who's joining us for the SGB Masterclass series. But I need to share this with you guys. We were online at 7:30, but I had forgotten to change the settings. So I was still on my own private page. And Noel and I having a wonderful conversation and saying that you guys are all tired, or you're having soup, or you're doing your laundry, but nobody's coming and joining us. So hopefully now that we're on School Corridor, um, welcome if you are there, if you're still on your way. I see 9 people have joined us. Welcome so much, from Sharon Lewin and of course Christo, who's the tech person. And Noel is the co-host, and he is hosting with me during this masterclass series on SGBs. Okay, so for tonight, guys, we have a wonderful session. We have Jimmy Inglis, who works at Metro South Education District. He's my colleague, and he works in the financial department in compliance sector. So we've asked him a few questions about the financial management challenges that schools experience. And because Jimmy is celebrating his wife's birthday tonight, we decided to interview him yesterday and we did a recording. So, what we're going to do is we're going to play the recording for you, and then you'll be able to hear what Jimmy actually discussed. And then Noel and I will take questions after that. Say hi to us. Nobody's saying hi yet. We can just see you joining. Sharon Lewin and Krista Lewin from School Corridor. And of course, Noel Isaacs is the co-host during the SGB Master Class series. So just say hi to us and let us know that you are there. So Noel, shall we start with the interview? Hi, Madeline. Madeline is from Swansbeck Academy Finance Team. Hi, Madeline. Lovely to have you here. Madeline, you must have heard us said we're going to discuss the financial management challenges that schools experience. And of course, like I explained, Noel and I are working in partnership on this series. And so tonight we have quite a nice mix because we'll have the chat going and chatting with you. And then, of course, we have a pre-recorded video where we interviewed one of my colleagues, Jimmy Inglis, and he speaks about common common challenges that schools face and common mistakes that they make. So I'm just going to greet a few of you and then be guided by my co-host as to, whether we can jump immediately into the pre-recorded video. Let's just greet quickly. Abdul, thanks Abdul for coming. Lovely to have you here. Noel is greeting you as well. Abdul.
Good evening.
So I don't know if you want to give him a shout out. And okay, am I losing you now?
No, I'm here.
Okay, good. Okay, guys, so what we'll do is, I said, when I was talking to myself, thanks for those who are online. I just said we were online. Apologies. We were online at 7:30. I had set the page, the live to my personal page, and Noel and I were chatting and wondering where is the nation? Why is nobody coming out tonight? And then I realized that we're on the wrong page. So we are very happy to be here with you tonight. Keith, hi Keith, thanks for being here. And I think we'll jump straight into it. We'll play the interview that we recorded yesterday. So it's pre-recorded. So for about 15 minutes, you can listen to the conversation. And then after the recording, Noel and I will take any questions that you have or any comments that you want to make or anything. Right? So we'll have the open conversation after the interview. Noel, is that fine? Yeah.
That's
Okay.
totally fine, Shem.
Thanks, Noel. Okay. Right. So you're going to listen to the recording, the pre-recording, because there was no other way that we could get Jim in the house, right? Jim is celebrating his wife's birthday tonight, and we decided that we'll have the interview with him, record him, and then play it for you during our live session. So we ready to dive in. Hi, I know. Hi, Jim. Jim, thanks for agreeing to be part of our program. Financial management of the SGBs is an important portfolio, and you come highly recommended by our co-host. That we get somebody in from the finance department. I'm glad that you were willing to be part of this interview. So we'll ask you a few questions, and then you can answer them, and you can add to the questions. Okay? Are you okay with
Oh,
that? Yeah. I'm just going to give
no
Noel a chance
problem.
to greet you, and then Noel, you can also start with the first question.
Okay. Hi, Jimmy.
I know.
Welcome on board. Jimmy, every year, the district office sends we call them the SBM team to schools to conduct an audit. When you compile your report of these visits, what are the common shortcomings or problems that the SBM teams find when they check schools' compliance with financial policies and management?
Look, most times it's that the school's finance policy, nah? They have it, but it's not, schools are not following it. Just like, because we must have a finance policy, so it's there, but they're not adhering to it. Nah? So when it comes to like procurement, you're buying like things, then it says anything over 5,000 Rand. I'm using 5,000 as a figure, some 3,000, depending on the school's policy. But you need 3 quotes. When you get there, then there's either no quote or there's just one. Very seldom you'll get all 3 quotes there. Or you need approval from SGB for anything over 5,000 Rand. You look for the minutes, then there's nothing. So what I'm saying, if the main thing that you must do is go back and make your finance policy applicable to your school. Yeah? Not you take Weinberg secondaries or Weinberg girls policy because they have a nice policy, but it has no bearing on your school. Yeah? So that's the main thing that we find. And then also, when you're receiving like funds, the money that you receive and the money that you bank is not, it doesn't always tie up. Yeah? So that's where, like, somebody's not checking the receipts to the deposits. Yeah? So those are the 2 main aspects. And then issuing a check without the supporting document. Yeah? You must pay, just use GetSmart as a company. So you're paying them, but there's no invoice from GetSmart. So you pay 5,000 Rand, but you're not seeing the supporting documents like that. Sorry, those are the 3 that I can just like mention that's the common errors that schools make. And governing body minutes, not up to date. Yeah? So as I say, I haven't been like with the people that come out to the schools for a while. Yeah? But those are the common 3 or 4 errors that keeps up most times. Yeah?
Okay.
And obviously petty cash. Sorry, no. Before you ask petty cash. Yeah? Nobody's checking it. Yeah? Like to see if there's supporting documents, slips, vouchers, or random checks to see like or if the money in the float is the same. Sometimes you get there, then you can't have more than your float in the. So either you know somebody's coming, and then you put in money, but you're not knowing how much money I must put in. So I'll put in 100 Rand, but I actually had to only put in 10 Rand. Okay? So that type of things, man. Yeah? The like either the principal or allocated person is not checking like the petty cash. Those are common errors.
So just with regards to the finance policy, Jimmy, obviously one of the structures that should be in the finance policy is the finance committee. Generally, do you find that schools have operational finance committees? Is that
So,
rare or seldom or never?
Uh,
sorry.
yeah.
Um, Look, I mean, you have schools that are running like finance committees, and you'll get schools that don't have, yeah? um, especially the one-man schools and things like that. So those are understandable. But I'm talking now in the metro, like you can have a finance committee, yeah? with with members of the SMT and like one member. Look, a delegated member of the SGB on the finance committee, but you have it on paper, but you meet, that's the other thing. Yeah? And if you meet, there's no record of any meetings or any discussions that's made. Yes, we'll find something. There is a finance committee. You ask for that minutes, you don't find that minutes. Yeah? So that's a problem with the finance committee.
It's quite a
So
few.
Jimmy, just from
Mm,
yeah, Sharon,
no, I'm
you were saying?
now and Jim, I'm just saying it's a lot of serious irregularities from what I can hear. Ne? A lot of non-compliance. I just wanted to make that comment because I'm like, oops, sounds serious. No, you can take over.
Yes. So Jimmy, from the SBM audits, let's move to the Schools Act provision where it says that by the 30th of June each year, the governing body must submit its audited financial statements. What are the general um, problems or challenges you normally pick up with when you scrutinize the audited financial statements of schools?
Mm,
Look, it depends on auditors. Like what we're trying to do now is move away from schools that have MEC approved auditors. Yeah? That's like you've had a teacher that did accounting at the high school and things like that, and you get him to do your books, and you just write a letter to the MEC to say Jimmy Inglis is going to do the school's books. Yeah? We're trying to move away from those type of auditors. We're trying to get auditors that's either registered with an accounting board,
mm,
yeah, or auditing board. Yeah? So they must be affiliated. Schools must, like if you appoint an auditor or check your auditor to see if they belong to that accounting board, go on to the internet, Google on that website and see if they like registered like with that and in good standing with those accounting or auditing boards. The common things now is people don't adhere to what must be submitted with a financial statement.
mm,
The auditor's work is probably like there. Um, like, I mean, I haven't once, or I think once or twice we found that the auditor don't add up correctly. Very seldom, but their work is normally like correct. Is the supporting documents that must come with the financial statements that's omitted, like a bank recon or a bank statement. They say they have investments, but there's no investment attached to the financial statements. Those type of things, and then schedules that we ask for, that we send to schools, but it's not forthcoming when this financial statements is submitted. Yeah, the MEC or like Psych is now busy drawing up something to streamline like our IFS. Yeah? So hopefully if the MEC signed it off either for 2021 or 22, like we'll streamline the process of how the financial statements must be. But basically, like you must just see that your auditors are registered with the accounting board. And then like your things, we send out a list every year to say this must be attached to your financial statements to see if it's there. Yeah? And if we submit and if we write back to you, we say, I think every year we send you a shortcoming letter to say, yes, no, address the no's. And obviously sometimes, or the common thing is where you overspend, or not overspend, you're going to the red, like on your bank statement. Yeah? Just give a reason why you went over. Like school fees didn't come in, or you didn't transfer money back into your current account from your investment account. But give a reason why. That's the basic error that schools, like, they don't say why they went um, into the overdraft. The school went into the red. I'm not sure if that's clear now, but basically those are the type of issues.
Yeah, Jimmy, just another question. So where schools have challenges with, capacity on the governing body with regards to financial management or administration, can schools individually ask for training, or must that be done in a circuit or via a governing body association?
Look, normally the training is done through Sharon Nim's like unit. Yeah? But if it's a particular issue, we haven't got a problem addressing it, like with schools. Yeah? But I think Andre then does training, financial governing training with governing bodies. Yeah? But if it's a specific like training need, yeah? You can ask us, and then we'll try and address it. Schools must now start doing their budget. The budget for next year. So if there's issues like drawing up the budget and things like that, they can contact us, and then we'll see where we can assist.
Okay, talking about budget, Jimmy, I am sure a lot of schools in the working class communities are going to have a major challenge with their budgets, because some of us have governing body employees, which we now had to put on a reduced salary, but now looking forward to 2021, obviously the virus is still going to be around and fundraising is still going to be a problem. What advice would you give to governing bodies when drawing up their budgets, especially in as far as making provision for governing body employed personnel?
Look, no, that's a sore subject. Right?
Yeah, I know.
If school fees is not coming in, how do you, and you can't fundraise, where you're going to get the money to pay? I mean, you know that you can't make use of norms and standards for payment of SGB personnel, even if you're no fee school. Yeah? Like you can't make use. Even the no fee portion, like we're having a conversation with the head office where they saying, like, you can't, and we're saying, but if it was a normal school, you would have been able to use of your no fee portion to pay for governing body, but not to the detriment of the operational cost of schools. And they saying that no transfer money can be used like for. So we're seeing it in a different line, but out and out, you must try and fundraise for governing body posts. I haven't got a clear answer how for next year. Where you're going to get the funding if you can't to do it. Now you must probably a catch-22 where you're going to say, do we need like all this governing body, like teachers, like speak to them and hear how, like, I mean, you also don't to say like teach and then you don't get like money and things like that, because they look forward to their paycheck at the end of the month. So instead of the 5 that you normally have, like, see if you can make do with 2 but that's something that you, sorry, that your classes won't be as small as you'd like. But like for now, until this thing, and we can go back to the norm and fundraise and things like that, that's a very difficult thing. How you're going to pay them now?
So the advice for governing bodies is just to take a realistic, sound, cold and clinical, but if you don't have the funds to budget, then rather not.
That's it. I'm not sure if schools are aware that at the moment they could, the tiers, TERS, like from the UIF, that they could apply for funding from them. I know it's a long process and things. The e-schools that got money, some schools saying the process is too long and they're not prepared to go like that route. But like, I mean, it's a couple of extra paperwork, or everything is online. So apply for it, huh? And see how what money you can get from the UIF department, huh? For governing body. I think I'm not sure how long you can go back until April to apply, and I'm not sure if they're going to extend it beyond July, like to do the funding for TERS.
Tell me, Jimmy, must you have gotten a payment to apply for the next period, or can you just apply?
Look, you can. I mean, if you didn't have the funding, you couldn't say like we didn't have the funding, yeah, to pay like the teachers, but they worked or they did like things. Yeah? Normally they'd like you to give them. I mean, to have pay them an amount, and they top it up to what there's calculation and things like that they like work out. Yeah? But there is schools that got without paying like the full, like governing. And if you pay full, then they're also going to say what you're applying for. Yeah? If you had to pay them R1,000, then you paid the R1,000. Why you applying?
Yeah.
Yeah? You only apply if you couldn't pay your governing body teachers.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just checking. I don't. Okay. Right. Thank you, guys. I think that was the end of the interview, because we also trying something new. Apologies. We interviewed Jimmy via the Zoom platform, and then of course I had challenges in terms of how do we bring in that interview. But I think Jimmy mentioned quite a few important things on the, during the interviews. I don't know if you just want to recap what Jim had mentioned, and then we can pick up on. I picked up 2 questions that people have asked here in the chat. Maybe I can. Yeah. No.
Yeah, I think the important thing that Jimmy mentioned was the existence of a finance policy. That each school must have a finance policy drafted by the school governing body and approved by the school governing body. But more importantly, as Jimmy said, that when they visit some of the schools for the SBM audit, they find that the schools indeed have finance policies, but they do not adhere to it, nor do they enforce it. So, in a nutshell, Jimmy's telling us that the finance policy must not just be a dead instrument that lies there in the safe or somewhere, but it must be put into effect on a daily basis.
Yeah.
We must adhere to the finance policy. What he also said about the audited financial statements, he said that a lot of schools, yes, most of the schools have their audited financial statements in by the 30th of June as required. I think it was an extension for this year. But he says that some schools, however, do not include the supporting documents as requested by the department. Because normally a few months before the audited financial statements are due, they will remind you it's due, and you must have the supporting documents like the stock taking certificate, um, a certificate of good financial standing, and all of that. So he says that some schools neglect to attach those documents with the audited financial statement.
Yeah. Yes. Let us just thank you, Noel. Let us just pick up on one of the questions. Noel, I don't know if we'll be able to answer this, but the one question was from Madeline. I'm just trying to see if I can see.
Auditor,
Madeline was asking
about
about the auditors. Do you want to pick up on that question?
yes, I can attempt to answer that question.
Okay.
There's nothing. There's nothing in the Schools Act that says that you can only have an auditor for 3 years, or for 4 years, or for 5 years. There's no.
Mm,
There's no provision um, in the Schools Act with regards to how long your auditor can be appointed by the governing body. Obviously, the governing body can appoint the same auditor year in and year out,
mm,
until such time that they change the Schools Act to say that you can only have a governing rather an auditor for 3 or 4 or 5 years. But
yeah.
in my understanding, my interpretation of the Schools Act, there's nothing that precludes a governing body from having the same auditor for 10 years, because auditors are expensive. So schools tend to go for an auditor who's, first of all, credible, but who's also not going to be too expensive. But auditors, it's quite a penny
Yeah.
um, to appoint an auditor.
Yeah. Now then there's a second part to her question. Marilyn also wants to know if it's good practice to change auditors.
Well, I think it would be entirely up to the governing body, but I
Mm,
think the advantage of having the same auditor, the auditor would most probably be, or the governing body would most probably be more open to listen to advice from a particular auditor,
mm,
because they would know what the auditor wants from the governing body. And yeah, you I think you strike up a good relationship, but that relationship should not be too close, so that we have scandals like we had with big auditing firms in South Africa
mm.
implicated in big corruption cases.
Yeah. Marilyn, I hope you, sorry, happy with that response. Yes, so then I'll just touched on, why you don't need to change, but also I think, Noel, what you also underscored here is that when there's too much familiarity, then perhaps a change is good. So you don't have to be married to the auditor, but not change auditors, the
Yeah,
frequent.
literally or figuratively.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks. Now, then there was another question. I know there's a comment from Keith, but the other question, yes, a question from Keith as well. He wants to know, and I think perhaps I'm now under pressure here to answer this. He says, what support is the department offering schools? And perhaps I should just say that Jim said if you have questions, that we're unable to answer, then he will provide answers. Now, I'm going to put Noel on the spot here and ask Noel if he got any support in terms of finances from the education department.
Yeah, before we get to the education department, in that interview, Jimmy is just reminding all of us that we can still apply for the tiers. It's TERS from the UIF,
Mm,
temporary employee relief scheme.
mm,
However, one one requirement that you must fulfill is that you must be up to date with your UIF payments.
mm, mm.
You wouldn't qualify. So a lot of schools have taken up that opportunity. I think you can still apply up until, I think I'm speaking under correction, until the 15th of August, and it's the entire process is done online,
Mm.
and you don't need rocket scientists to apply. It's quite basic questions. The only information you need there is the UIF reference number, and the PAYE number of the school, and also the school's banking details.
Yeah.
So it's quite I would say a simple process. It takes a bit of time, but it's quite a simple process. So with regards to support from the school, um, if there's one thing that the department doesn't want to know anything about is if you ask them if you can deviate from the norms and standards
Mm,
provision,
mm,
because every year when they inform you what your norms and standards allocation is for the following year, for the following financial year, they will put in bold print, under no circumstances should norms and standards funding be used for paying governing body employed personnel.
mm,
However, the reality is that now under COVID-19, a lot of schools could not do, schools are not able to do fundraising, and now schools are sitting in a predicament that the most of the governing body personnel are either on reduced salary
mm.
or governing bodies were forced to terminate the contracts. So now the obvious thing would be for the government to say, no, it's fine. We see the predicament because the governing body um, teachers, even though they're employed by the governing body, but they play an important role in the education system. Because without governing body teachers, most schools won't be able to function properly.
Mm.
So that is so. So if you look at all the rules that the government and the education departments throughout South Africa, the rules that they flout with regards to procurement, then I cannot understand why they would not want schools, why they would not um,
A lot.
bring in a deviation of the norms and standards to say it's fine for the following year or two, schools may use X amount percentage of norms and standards funds to pay governing body personnel.
Yeah.
Because looking next year in terms of budgets, I don't know how we as schools are going to do it because there's no fundraising. Companies are um, also had a tough year, so sponsorship is going to be minimal. So that's going to be a tough one for governing bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But in terms of support, there's no financial support from the department
yeah.
unless they are that receive support. I don't know of that, but maybe they are.
Yeah. Thank you, Noel, for that comprehensive response. And I think Jim covered that. I think, yes, at this point, the department is sticking to policy. Like Noel said, your norms and standards money is ring fenced. There's no deviation yet, but nothing stops you from approaching the department and writing and asking and getting your own response. But that is just what we know at this point. Okay. And then I think I'm just reiterating, Noel spoke about the UIF. So if you haven't explored that at your school yet, then do look at that avenue as well. Okay. Denville just made a comment here, Noel. So I'm pulling his comment on. Denville said that they had to put all the capital expenditure project on hold in the light of the unplanned expenditure. And then there's a question. He says, how will this impact the budget of 2020 in terms of underspending and what kind of ramifications, if any, can we expect?
I don't think there could or should be any ramifications
Mm,
if you there would be a reasonable explanation
mm, mm.
as to why there is an over or under expenditure, whatever nature of whether it's under or over, and they should understand.
Yeah, I agree with that because Jim
Already
also,
said that
sorry, no. Yeah, Jim also,
because as then
okay.
they were forced to uh, to now set aside or put aside capital expenditure projects
Mm,
due to more pressing matters.
mm, yeah. And I think Denville that what's his name? Jim also covered that. We said that you need to just have supporting documentation to explain why you're deviating. Even if we all know we're in the pandemic, you do need that supporting documentation. Thanks, Noel. And then I think here Keith made just a comment. Um, Keith. Our finance committee had to meet urgently and proactively once job losses started impacting on people's livelihoods. They developed a risk adjusted budget to meet the running costs of the school. And then Keith wants to know, he says it is interesting to hear that there was a process in place that allowed schools to apply for funding. Okay. Now I think Keith is referring to the UIF um,
Yes, that yeah, it's not an initiative from the Department of Education, but it comes from the Department of Labor and Employment, and also from Social Development. So I think some of our circuit managers gave us the information, but I don't think there was a circular from head office that said um, we are inviting schools to apply for the TERS.
yeah.
But I know some of the circuit managers share that information with their governing with their schools.
Yeah, thank you. So again, schools, if you didn't know about the UIF factors provision, then do explore that. Going forward. Then I'm just trying to check here if there are any other questions. People are saying thank you for the information. Yes, guys, if you have questions, you can sort of give it to us here. And if you want to just comment, then you can comment as well. Noel, you've been thanked by Keith for your invaluable input. And Madeline said thank you for the response. Hi, Paul. Lovely to have you here again. Always good to have all our community members around the table. Thanks so much for coming. Yeah, I don't see other questions now that people have asked. So shall we? Is there anything that you wanted to add now? I think I would advise people to listen to that recording of Jim again because he mentioned important issues like the management of petty cash. And so, we had a nice informal discussion, but he threw quite a few nuggets in there. And then hopefully one day we'll be able to get him here because he may be able to give you more information. You may have specific questions you want to ask. So I'm going to be guided by Noel here.
Yeah, I
No.
think maybe yeah, Sharon, just to underline the point that Jimmy made about the finance policy and the finance structure.
Mm,
Um, Now, obviously, normally the policy gives effect to the structure, not the other way around. So you must have a finance policy where it says there will be a finance committee comprising of the following persons, because policy gives effect to the structure, not the other way around.
mm, mm,
But I think the finance committee can be a very, very important committee at the school if it's run in the proper fashion, where it's not dominated by one or two persons,
mm,
but where people kind of equal participatory rights. And because the main uh, uh, um, purpose of the finance committee would be obviously to draft the budget,
mm,
and just on when they meet to go through all the statements, um, the income and expenditure statement, and also the bank statement, because an income and expenditure statement means nothing for a term or a year or a month rather if we don't have the bank statements there,
mm,
because just for the credibility of that process.
mm,
And I think that the finance committee must also approve any big expenses, because if the because you if you're a member of the finance committee, you are not there daily to see what what payments are made. So the meeting gives you that opportunity to see which payments were made, and are those
mm.
payments in line with the budget that was agreed to and approved by the governing body.
Yeah.
So the finance committee is an ideal opportunity to check on the expenses that were made, who approve the expenses in line with what the finance policy says,
Mm,
uh, to check um, are you people adhering to the finance policy?
Yeah. Very.
Yeah. So the finance committee must be a committee that is alive and well,
Yes.
and not just being not just having meetings. Oh yes, we didn't have a meeting for the year, but schedule the meetings if it's once a month or
Mm.
once a term. So know that you must have a meeting in a particular month or in a term.
Yes. And I think Jim underscored that too now, that he said that people have finance committees just on paper. And the meetings
Yeah,
are informal, and the finance committee is not really carrying out their mandate, like you said. They need to be in that oversight role. They have to hold people accountable. They have to check the budgets. They have to check spend and so forth. So yes,
yeah,
the other. Can I just add to what you said now? The schools must read the financial manual for schools that the WCD has compiled. There is supposed to be an updated version, but the current version that is on the internet, the financial management manual for schools, is a very informative document. And I think many times the committee members, finance committee members, and even SMT members don't really understand how the financial management at the school should be conducted, should be controlled, right? So read through that manual and see what kind of committees you must have in place, what kind of documentation you must have, what the accountability structures are that you should have in your financial management structure at the school. Okay, so that is just uh, I think something important that you need to know. And then, of course, I want to just pull up here. Paul Momberg Noel says, how can I contact No? I would like to email him if possible. No, so there. How do can people contact you via
you can you can share details. It's fine.
Okay, so I can share your details. Okay, Paul Nolan's giving me permission to share his details. So I'll share his details in the chat later, or we'll put it up for you. And then you can contact him. And then I saw something else here from Walter. Oh, before I pull Walter's one up, Denville said Denville is the principal of Glenbridge here in the Deep River area. And Denville says we applied for TERS and received money only for April. We are still waiting for May and June. So that's some encouragement for schools that still want to apply, right? Thank you for that, Denville. And then Walter McHugh. Hi, Walter. Lovely to have you back in the house. Walter says he wants you to repeat the UIF route. No, which could be followed to claim for GB posts. Can you just
Yeah,
summarize that again for us?
it's known as TERS.
Yes.
TERS. They can just Google UIF TERS and then it will come up.
Okay. And
And
therefore,
just follow the process. Yeah,
okay. Walter, there you have it. So it's straightforward. Just Google tiers, UIF, and then the prompts. Now says it's very easy to follow the prompts, right? And to fill in that information. And then, of course, Natasha's here from RSLSGBA. Hi, Natasha. Lovely to have you here. The lady from one of our SGB organizations. Retreat, Steenberg, Lavendale, SGB Association. Yeah. So if you're in that area, then just check it out so that if you're not linked to any forum or any SGB Foundation organization, then check out that one that operates in the Steenberg Lavendale Retreat area. Ashley Jeffers in the house now from Crestway. Hi, Ashley. You've disappeared for quite a while. Ashley says, good evening. Thanks for an informative session. 5 hours of Noel's wisdom in one day. No, there you go. Did you hear that? That's from Ashley.
I didn't hear that.
Ashley says
What is he saying?
he's paying you a massive compliment and well deserved. I just lost it now. I'll pull it up again. He's saying 5 hours of wisdom or something. I'll see if I can pull him up again. Okay. Keith, you speaking about electricity. Um, Keith, I don't know what that means. And then Walter's thanking you now for that information again. Oh, here it goes. Here's Ashley's comment now. Good evening. Thanks for an informative session. This is for you, Mr. Isaacs. 5 hours of Noel's wisdom in one day. Now, look, that's beautiful. Thank you, Ash. And then I'm just scrolling again to see we didn't miss out on any important questions or comments. Yes, I think, guys, yes, we don't want to repeat what Jim had said. And Noel, of course, gave you a lot of important information as well, just to contextualize what Jim said. So we would advise you to watch that video again, watch the replay where Jim is chatting to us. And then if you still have questions, then you can ask us, anytime, because we're still doing the SGB session next week. And then we're having a final wrap up in after, say, in 2 weeks' time. We're wrapping up the SGB Masterclass series. Okay. I'm just making absolutely sure. Then the other thing I wanted to mention is all the School Corridor Live videos are available on Facebook. You must just search for it there. But if you want to, you can go to my School Corridor YouTube channel. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to post, once we've had the live, say in a week or two, then I'll post the live video onto the YouTube channel. Now it's easier to find it on the YouTube channel because all the videos are organized according to playlists. So if you want to watch all the SGB live sessions that we had, then you can just go to the channel, look for the playlist SGB, and then you can sort of cherry pick, watch videos and watch snippets of it, of the areas that you're interested in. I thought I'll just throw that in here. And then, yeah. Hi, A.G. van der Werven. No, A.G.
And
van
about
der Werven is
week,
here.
oh, okay, all the way from the Middle East.
Yes, yeah. You wanted to add anything, Mr. Isaacs?
Yes, maybe you might just mention, Sharon, about next week, and if the people can come with prepared questions about suspensions and expulsions.
Good, yeah. Next week, remember, we're getting Pat Williams in again next week, and he's going to focus on learner discipline with an emphasis on suspension and expulsion. So that's going to be a very interesting session. So come prepared with your questions so that Pat is able to answer all the questions that you have about suspensions and expulsions. Right? So the whole session will just be Pat speaking to suspension and expulsions, and of course addressing all the concerns that you have. Right? Yeah, that's going to be nice because it's going to be live, right? Like we on at the moment. Then if there's nothing else, no, because we don't want to hold our community to ransom here. If there's nothing else, oh, Keith is asking something here that may be for Mr. Isaacs. In the light of high electricity bills and the threats of future hikes in the new year, why aren't schools encouraged to go solar? You want to comment on that? No.
Yeah, I don't know what the cost of that would be, but I think maybe that should be encouraged to schools that are able to do that. But in the time when Ron Swartz was the head of education, what was that, 6, 7, 8 years ago, then schools qualified for an indigent grant towards the municipal accounts. Now, um, at times, and tomorrow there's actually a meeting, then I represent the Retreat Steenberg Lavendale schools in the meetings with the head of education. And at the last meeting, I asked him, uh, can he not, on behalf of the schools, especially the poorer schools, get a payment holiday for municipal accounts for all schools in working class communities? Then he got a long answer, but he said he don't think the city of Cape Town would agree to that because they have their own challenges. But I think there must be a commitment from from the government in the Western Cape
Mm.
to grant schools, especially in working class community, a kind of an automatic rebate on municipal accounts.
Yeah. I hope people are listening so that they can take that up. Yeah. Thank you, Noel. Keith, Marilyn says when applying for tiers, make sure that your UIF and your pay as you earn payments are up to date. Yeah,
That is,
yeah,
yeah,
just make sure, because the unfortunate situation will be if you're not paying UIF and pay as you earn, because then you are going to run into other difficulties, right? Besides creating some labor infraction. Yeah.
yeah.
So Keith is saying no, there's no cost at all. So Keith, I'm aware that some of the schools are busy. They're twinning with companies that are subsidizing the solar, the installation of solar panels. I know the Wynberg Belt the Wynberg Schools Belt has explored that option, and I'm aware that in the Pinelands area they're doing it as well. So, Keith, if your school has explored that, perhaps we should chat offline. And then, if you have information, we could have you coming online and just
It,
explaining to the schools. And Keith can actually explain, because that is something we have to, we have to
at,
explore.
yeah, at which school is Keith?
Keith is at Westerford.
Okay,
Westerford.
okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you can also just pass on the contact details
Okay.
of,
Cool. Keith.
of the company or whatever.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Keith, okay, are you able to give us the name of a company that schools can contact in terms of the solar, installation of solar at no cost, like you say? Yeah.
Yes,
But
yes,
yeah. And so we'll chat with you at some point, because this is the kind of information we want to share. How do schools going forward, how do they start saving on costs like electricity, like water, and so forth? So thanks for alerting us to that, Keith. And if you have the name of the company, drop it in the chat so that people can find it there. And then perhaps we can, when we have that open session now, we could perhaps pick up on these odds, and then, give people an opportunity to give us information. Yeah. Then, guys, I've also dropped Noel's email addresses there. The one is the MWeb one, and the other one is the Gmail. Notice there's a W. No WI6. You might just miss out on that W, and someone in America will get the mail. So just double check that for those who would like to contact Noel, and Noel has given us permission to flight his details here. Thank you, Keith. I see you say you will do. Okay. No, any closing comments? So we've got a solar
yeah, no.
connection from Keith. Look at
And
that.
we
What?
was like connection.
Yeah, Keith is our connection now. Keith is saying we are in the process and we do have 3 options. Lovely. Yeah. I think, Keith,
Wow.
3 options in terms of having the solar installations done. So I think no, we'll do
Okay.
that. We'll get Keith on just to see that they're in the process. Just give us a snapshot of what they're doing, and in that way help schools to explore that option. Yeah.
Maybe
Um,
we'll have a commercial break next.
yeah, you can be on commercial break next week. Thanks for that. That's a lovely idea. Thank you, Keith. Keith, you'll be on. We're gonna put you in between suspension and expulsion next week. Yeah. Okay. Right. I've gone through everything here now. Guys, and I think we're ready to wrap up. Thanks for joining us once again. Thanks for being willing to learn and to grow and to empower yourself. So here at School Corridor, we know our mantra is we want to grow, we want to inspire and empower ourselves and everybody that's part of our community and beyond. Okay, so on that note, I'm ready to say good night. I'll just hear if Noel has any closing comments.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think this evening was quite useful. I also learned in the process, and I just hope that the participants found the session too useful and valuable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thanks. Good night.
Yeah. Good night, guys. Have an awesome week. And to the ladies, remember this month we want to focus on the women. It's Women's Month, and we know we don't like the idea of just being, restricted to a month. But I think what is important is that it's being spotlit again. So let's make the most of it and go out there and make your mark. Cheerio.